Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and it is your life. And I'm excited. We got such a wonderful show for you all today, and I just want everybody to sit back. Hey, Todd, I think everybody needs to grab about 8, 9 bags of popcorn because we're gonna bring it today. We're gonna talk about a topic that's so important that we all need to get a better understanding of. So I tell you what, Todd, let's do it.
It's Your Life is sponsored by James J.C. Cooley.
Life is a series of circles and cycles, phases and stages. These are your experiences that teach you the lessons of life. You can either ignore them or embrace them. Welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life. James is a motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the James Cooley Foundation. James is here to equip you to strive for greatness and to overcome adversity. It's time to get equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. Now, here's the host of It's Your Life, James Cooley.
Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I tell you, we got an absolutely wonderful show coming your way. We got this wonderful guest and a great friend that's going to talk to us about Minority Mental Health Month and awareness and a lot of things that are associated with that. So, wherever you're watching it from, whether you're watching it from E360 Television, Transverse Television, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, or over 30 other live platforms, welcome to the show. And if you want to be part of this conversation, all you have to do is just go to the comments and just ask any question you like. Or you can pick up from the radio station, KCBQ, San Diego, 1-866-577-2473. But as you know, I can't start the show without my great executive producer who make everything happen. How are you doing today, Dr. Cooley?
I'm doing good. Really excited about the show today. It's this wonderful person. She's going to educate and just kind of inspire our viewers, our listeners about this very important topic that maybe some people are nervous or afraid to discuss, but we really need to put it out there for our well-being. So we're really excited about, this topic, this person who's going to speak on it. The last time we saw her was a couple of months ago at a graduation ceremony, and she does a fantastic job, and we're excited to learn a little bit more about her. So I can't wait to start the show.
Actually, it was about 5 weeks ago. You know what I mean?
5 weeks?
And she is wonderful. She's wonderful. So, Michelle, why don't you introduce the title of the show, the purpose of the show, and introduce this absolutely wonderful guest that we got?
Yes. Well, the title of today's show is called Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. And we're going to have a sit down getting to know international mental health speaker, author, and advocate, Dr. Rhonda M. Wood. We're going to discuss why raising awareness about mental health issues within the minority community is crucial, and the steps we can take to prioritize our mental health and how we can be supportive of those who are going through mental health issues, and what some things that Dr. Rhonda's doing to advocate for mental health and spread awareness. So let's talk to you about this amazing guest today. Let me tell you, I'm going to summarize her bio. It will not do her justice, and she's going to tell us a little bit more. Recognized as one of the most prominent voices for mental health advocacy, Dr. Rhonda M. Wood is an award-winning international keynote best-selling author and a leading authority on mental health. Leveraging over 30 years of corporate experience, she impacts audiences with her mission to normalize and destigmatize mental health conversations. She trains audiences worldwide to eradicate mental health stigmas and adopt compassion, awareness, and acceptance. And she advocates for a world where we can break the silence and heal out loud. She uses her unique voice and talents to serve women from the classroom to the boardroom and beyond. She unapologetically shares her mental health journey with a level of transparency that allows her voice to resonate in the hearts of women around the world who are inspired by her bold approach to life. She's the first ever American radio presenter with her own show, Break the Silence, at womensradio.com, a multi-award winning radio station based in the United Kingdom that focuses on supporting women's mental health and well-being. She's also the host of the highly anticipated The Dr. Rhonda Show, to be launched later this year and broadcast live to millions of listeners and viewers around the world. Her extensive expertise has earned her invitations to speak on major corporate stages across the country. She is the recipient of the President Joseph R. Biden's 2022 Lifetime Achievement Award. She was awarded an honorary doctorate degree of philosophy and entrepreneurship and business administration by the Trinity International University of Ambassadors School of Business Honors Program and recognition and being a successful leader in business and her work on mental health advocacy and women's empowerment. Woo! There's so much more to talk about this amazing guest, but we're going to let her do the talking, and especially about this important topic. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Rhonda M. Wood to the show.
Yay!
How you doing, Doc?
I'm doing great. Hey, listen, I am on the It's Your Life show, so today is a good day.
It's a great day to have you on our show, and I mean you jumping all over the continents and all over the world, sharing love, teaching, educating, and you're doing a lot of great things, Dr.
Oh,
Wilson.
thank you so much. And thank you for having me today. I'm so excited to talk about this topic. I think it's so important. And even though, you know, we when you read my bio, we talked about, you know, my work with women, but let me just say, mental health does not discriminate on gender, on age, on social economic background, location. It doesn't care about the size of your bank account, the square footage of your house, how many letters you have in front or behind your name, or any of those things. It can affect anyone at any time for any reason.
And it does. And we all are associated with someone in our family or someone we know, someone in the communities, or many that need treatment and might not know how to get it, or might be afraid to step forward and pursue this. So Dr. Woods, can you tell our listeners and viewers a little bit more about you, where you grew up, some of your role models, and what just prompt and projected you, I'm talking about from vision, understanding, focus, to be doing all the great things that you're doing today?
Sure, absolutely. I'm excited. Okay, so I live in Maryland. I'm about 35 minutes from our nation's capital, about 35 minutes from the White House, actually. So I know you're over on the West Coast, you're Pacific Standard Time. I'm on the East Coast, Eastern Standard Time. And I pretty much grew up in we call it the DMV, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. I've worked about 30 years in corporate America and at law firms in Washington, D.C. I worked for 3 law firms in my career. I recently stepped away. Actually, I stepped away for family medical leave and for family leave, and then also for medical leave, to focus on my daughter's mental health, and then also my mental health as well. We always have to make sure that we are prioritizing ourselves when we're focusing on other people. And so that's pretty much how I stepped into this arena, being able to step away and learn, you know, become educated and learn about symptoms and understand, you know, the different treatments and research resources and things of that nature. I just started learning so much. And we were also sharing, because a lot of the support that I received came from other groups of either parents supporting someone with mental health or people themselves with mental health. And, you know, we were just all kind of like, okay, let's figure this thing out together. We're all in this, you know, trying to reach the same goal, trying to get better, trying to better ourselves. And so that's kind of how I, you know, everyone's like, how did you go from corporate America to this mental health person? So that's kind of my backstory.
And so, Dr. Woods, so did you have any role models when you was growing up, and that taught you things that you live by today?
That's a great question. You know, the primary people that I looked up to, I would say, were my parents. Both of my parents are deceased. They're on the other side of heaven right now. Both of my parents actually passed away young of cancer, but I still have the things that they taught me. My mom was very strong, a very mentally strong person. My father was a very dedicated person. I actually wrote a chapter in a book that was dedicated to my losing him. And after they passed, I actually took on the responsibility responsibility at 18 or 19 years old of raising 3 of my siblings, just because of the things that I felt like I was their best champion. I felt like I was, I didn't want them to go into the system, to go into foster care or anything like that. We had lost our parents. I felt like we needed to stay together, grieve together, and grow together. And so I would say my family were sort of the main people that I looked up to.
Wow. So Rhonda, every time I see you got a smile on your face, and you always doing great things. So if someone if you had to describe yourself, or what adjective would that be, and why?
Okay, so if you were to ask me today in this present season, I would say driven. I would say I'm driven. I have learned a lot over the past, I would say 6 years, just again, focusing on mental health and becoming aware of, asking myself questions, becoming aware of symptoms, making sure I'm participating in talk therapy, being aware of the things that may trigger me, setting boundaries, saying no, not doing things or being in places or environments that don't honor me, my peace, my joy, and things of that nature. And so I would say driven at this point, because I just want to continue to grow and move forward and plant seeds of greatness.
Wow. Driven is the perfect word. And I tell you, we're going to take a station break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, and all the things that are associated with that. So if you want to be part of this great conversation, all you have to do is just go to the platform that you're looking at, put in the comments, ask Dr. Woods any question that you might have, or pick up the phone and dial 1-866-577-2473. It's your life, and we'll be back shortly after the break.
Awesome.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, or hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? In everything that you do.
It's Your Life. Dr. James Cooley is a motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation. Dr. Cooley is here to equip you to strive for greatness and overcome adversity. It's time to get equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. Now, here's the host of It's Your Life, Dr. James Cooley.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life, and I tell you, we use the segment one just to get an opportunity to get a chance to know this young lady a little bit more. And now it's time to jump into the meat of the conversation. So if you want to be part of this conversation, whichever platform you're watching it on, just go to the comments, ask Dr. Rhonda Woods any question that you might have, and I promise we'll get you an answer.
Yes. Dr. Rhonda, what is Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, and why is it focusing on minorities' mental health awareness?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you so much for asking that. So it was actually officially named by Congress in July of 2008. It was actually officially coined B.B. Moore Campbell Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. And so this is a month where we focus specifically on eliminating stigma, promoting mental health awareness, specifically in minority communities. And the reason we do that is because we've experienced where some minorities have been held back from receiving adequate mental health care. It's cultural stigma. It's stigma in the workplace. Sometimes it's generational. There are limited resources in some instances, and just systemic disparities. And so we have this month where we are able to sort of shed light on the issues, on the challenges. We get to stand in solidarity with one another. We get to amplify our voices, raise our voices to promote understanding, empathy, awareness, and share access to different types of resources. And the goal is we want to create a world where everyone has equal opportunities and access to mental health resources, wellness, regardless of your background, your ethnicity, anything of that nature. And I also want to point out, a lot of people wonder, well, who is this B.B. Moore Campbell? I'm not sure if people know B.B. Moore Campbell was an author, a journalist, a teacher, but most importantly, she was a mental health advocate. Her daughter is Maya Campbell, and a lot of people may know Maya Campbell she was an actress on a TV show called In the House. It was in the late 90s, like 95 through 1999. And it was a show that had LL Cool J as well as Debbie Allen. And so a lot of people aren't aware that her daughter struggled with mental health symptoms, had mental illness. And she struggled to get her daughter proper access to care, proper resources. And she actually was responsible for helping to start, there's an organization called NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and she was responsible for starting the Inglewood chapter in Inglewood, California. And so we actually have them now all over the world. It is the largest grassroots mental health organization in the country here in the States.
Dr. Rhonda, I do remember that show, by the way. I do remember that. Mental health awareness in the minority communities. You mentioned stigma, cultural upbringing. Do you believe that in a lot of minority communities that they may not be aware that they're having mental health issues, and based on their cultural upbringing, they were taught to whether to keep it within the house. You got to be strong. We don't take our business outside. You're the man of the family. You don't want to look weak. So awareness also comes in a form of, in your opinion, do you believe awareness also comes in a form of, education that, okay, what you're experiencing is maybe not a temporary thing, but it's a serious issue. Plus, your upbringing, not to discredit mom and dad or the family,
Right.
but sometimes that's not enough. They need outside help. So what are your thoughts on that, about awareness towards the minority community that there are mental health issues going on?
Yeah, so so thank you for asking that question. That's so important. I think one of the main things we need to do, one of the first things we need to do is we need to have self-awareness, right? Hey, when something is not right, I need to feel comfortable with myself to be honest and say, hey, something isn't right here and I think I need some help. So that's number one. The other thing is, I think you're absolutely right, Michelle. A lot of us have been brought up or groomed or trained. What happens in this house stays in this house. Don't you take my business out in the street. And so what we've learned to do is we've learned to keep our feelings to ourselves. And a lot of us we experience males who are not expressive or open or vulnerable, because apparently that's not a macho thing to do, is to say that they're feeling depressed or have anxiety, or I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm burned out, or something's wrong, because a lot of us were groomed to be strong, put your big girl panties on, or macho up, or man up. And so again, we've learned, keep your feelings in. We've learned to become champions, or we've learned that it's best, right, to suppress our feelings and our emotions and just keep pushing through, not realizing how detrimental that is to our mental and emotional well-being.
Wow. So, I know you mentioned that making mental health services available easier for the minority communities. And I guess I'm wondering, and maybe the audience is wondering as well, why are these services for minority communities, are they difficult to find in certain communities, or maybe the communities are not aware where these services are? What are your thoughts on that?
Right. So I think first we have to start with, again, not only just self-awareness, but also being able to recognize knowing what mental health symptoms are, knowing how to recognize them in ourselves or other people. So let's start with that. And when there is an issue, knowing where to go. So for example, if what I realized is, I had a loved one who was in a school environment and was experiencing mental health symptoms and didn't know what to do, not realizing that the school actually had a school psychologist. That was a resource, but it was the education wasn't out there. Sometimes even in a work environment, again, saying, an employee may say, man, I'm experiencing, something at work. I think I need to step away. And the workplace saying, hey, we have where you can take leave, you can take off. We have a, employee assistance program where you can get some support, where you can get some talk therapy or things of that nature. So I think it's important the education needs to come in the form of, here are some resources. Even when people are admitted to the hospitals or institutionalized, when they get out, then what do? Are they kind of left to fend for themselves? So all of those things need to be discussed and talked about. There needs to be plans in place. There needs to be the resources need to be widely distributed so that people know what to do, where to go, what to say, how to advocate for themselves or others. So much out there that we need to train people to do.
Wow. You mentioned, and I also read it in your bio, and you mentioned that, you've had experiences, dealing with, someone, a loved one with mental health issues. And then your bio said that you were very transparent in your story in order to, maybe connect or inspire or just educate people. How difficult was it for you to be transparent based on your own story? And how has that empowered you?
Wow, thank you for that question. Amazing question. So for me, when you have a loved one, and let me just speak to the parents really quickly. So my daughter was experiencing some mental health symptoms, and the first thing I thought, and I felt judgment. I felt judged, like I wasn't a good parent. Because when your child, when you have a child who has anything wrong, it doesn't matter if it's emotional or physical. The first thing you want to do is be like, oh, Mama Bear got this, or Daddy Bear got this. We're going to take care of this. And so when when they are hurting, and your best words, your best positivity, your best food, when that doesn't take it away, you feel this sense of hopelessness. So one of the things I did when I was seeking out support groups is, I started sharing my story. And I realized the more that I said, hey, I'm experiencing this, I don't know anything about this, I'm not really sure what to do, what are the proper steps, how do I best support her, I realized there were other people that I was connecting with. So I actually saw something good coming out of me being open about what I was going through. I saw how it was helping other people, which prompted me to be more open. I said, man, the more open and transparent I am, the more that I see that it's helping people, the more that I'm being asked, well, hey, can you talk to my youth group, or can you come speak to my event, and things of that nature. And so in the beginning, it definitely was challenging, Michelle, because that's not something that we normally do. Oh, let me just, it's not like I woke up one day and said, let me just start sharing about my mental health challenges and my family. But I just realized that when we share our stories and our experiences, when we release ourselves from the stigma that holds us back, we are freeing other people as well.
We are freeing other people. Hold that though, because we're going to take a station break. But we're going to come back. We're going to pick it up because you're on to a lot of things that we need to know about. It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley. We'll be back with Dr. Rhonda M shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley.
For the challenges of tomorrow. Now, here's the host of It's Your Life, Dr. James Cooley.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life, and Dr. Woods. That was an absolutely wonderful segment. and we're gonna pick it up from there.
All
And
right.
so, but before we start this, I have to I have to put a plug in for me. We just released a Black Man Poetry, Mind, Body, and Soul that went #1 national and international. I mean, and this
Awesome.
book is about um, it's a roadmap to a lot of the things that Black men experienced over 400 years of
Mhm.
colonization, slavery, and uh, and just some of the ways that we act because of that. But it's our ancestors that paved the way for us, and but it's a roadmap to tell the world why we act a certain way sometimes. But it also is a lesson learned that we have to learn to love, regardless of what color you are, black, white, pink, gold, or purple. We all have to live in this world together. So it's all about love, not hate. And you can pick up a copy of A Black Man Poetry, Mind, Body, and Soul, Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, anywhere where books are sold. We on all the platforms. So anywhere where books are sold, So, Dr. Run,
Mhm.
I want to get back to this question right here. And your research is it mostly men or women who may be apprehensive about seeking help? So I know that you and Michelle talked a little bit about people don't want to seek help, or they don't know how to seek help, or they are ashamed, or that stigma that's there. So can you talk about that a little bit?
I, that's a loaded question. If I had to pick a gender, um, I, the question depends on a lot of different variables. The quick answer, I would say there are some instances where I would say men are definitely more apprehensive about seeking help for mental health symptoms because of stigma. Because again, as we discussed earlier, a lot of men feel like, hey, I'm supposed to have it all together. I'm supposed to be a man. I'm supposed to be macho. We don't talk about our feelings. That's not very, a manly thing to do. Some people believe they don't want to be or feel like it's not macho or manly to be vulnerable, expressing what's really going on, feeling hurt, even crying, emoting, expressing feelings in that way. And so a lot of times they do what we call, they suppress their emotions and feelings as opposed to talking about. So if the quick answer, I would say men, but then there are some instances where it's women as well. They say, well, women have more symptoms. Women take on, various different roles. They work, they are, sometimes, head the household in terms of preparing meals or helping with homework or doing baths, family oriented nurturers, grocery shopping, laundry, doing household chores. And so all of those things can sometimes lead to more symptoms, meaning sometimes it could be feeling stressed, overwhelmed, burnout, and things of that nature. So I think it really depends on the environment. I think it can depend on the upbringing. I think it can depend on what's going on in your life at the time. Some people can be going through a divorce. Some people have maybe just lost a job or lost a main source of income. Maybe my car broke down, and I need a way to get to work. So different variables. It just depends.
So Dr. Wood, so what strategies do you think could be used to increase accessibility to mental health services for minority communities?
Wow. So in different environments. So at work, I think making sure that all of the different backgrounds have access. I think in the schools, making sure everyone is given equal access to different resources, not judging, not saying, well, let's say, for example, Black people have more problems, more issues, more, they're more probably apt to miss work or miss school, oh, it's always an issue. They're always calling in. But sort of being fair, there was an instance in my workplace. I was hired around the same time as another female, literally days apart. The other female was white. And I noticed that, she was given a lot more support. She was given, she was encouraged and inspired, given a lot more attention. And when I said, man, I'm having a difficult time, I was kind of ignored. I felt like people were frustrated. Then there was an instance where there was someone else, like I went on leave, another person went on leave, and there was like this general sort of announcement to the team for the other person who went on leave. And I felt like the team kind of rallied and supported and encouraged her. And I was just kind of, left dangling. So there just wasn't that equality there. So, and then I think even in hospital environments, there are times when there are people of color may have to go to a hospital. They may have to be admitted to a hospital. And I think there are instances, I've actually witnessed instances where, you're kind of judged right away, like, oh, do they have insurance? Do they have, the free insurance where I might not get paid, or I might not get paid for several months or weeks, or it might be an instance like they probably did something, there's a lot of stigma and judgment there before they even step in the room. They're kind of judged by the color of their skin right from the bat, start making all these judgment calls. And so therefore, they're not given the same opportunities. They're not given the same resources. They're not given the same access of care. It's a little bit, or let's say there's, only 2 beds available. The likelihood of it being given to a person of color might be slim to none. And so again, we just want to make sure that we are addressing those systemic disparities and standing together to make sure that we are educating and promoting understanding and empathy, regardless of background.
And you're absolutely right. And this hopefully the world can come together, not just the United States, but the whole world, where we don't look at people for color or the way that they dress or the way that they look, and we judge a person, by their integrity. We judge by their character is the most important thing.
Another thing is money also, Dr. Cooley. Another thing is money. I mean, everything costs. And I've witnessed where someone who may not have as much money might not be given the resources because they may just feel like, oh, well, they can't afford it. So a lot of people are prevented from getting the care that they need because they aren't able to afford the medicine or the talk therapy, or get admitted to a facility that can help them get better.
It's so many stigmas out there, and so many I'm gonna call it like it is, so many prejudices that exists just because we are judged just by the color of our skin or how we look. But I know that you are doing so many initiatives out there to help bring awareness and advocate for mental health. Can you talk to our viewers and listeners about some of the things that you're doing? And plus, you're going all over the world doing it.
Yeah. So, we talked about mental health doesn't discriminate. So this isn't a local issue. This isn't even an issue just in the United States. This is, I can go to last year I traveled to England, I traveled to France, and I traveled to Belgium. And I shared my story in each of those locations because mental health is one of the things that I said at the start of the show was that I think it was before we went live, is that everyone is touched by mental health in some way. Even if we may not have symptoms personally, the likelihood of us knowing someone who has symptoms is very high. We may work with them, they may be our neighbor, they may be in our family, they may be in our household even, but the likelihood of us being affected by mental illness is very high. And so some of the things that I do, I speak on platforms like yours, like It's Your Life. And so, I love sharing my story and the things and my experiences through public speaking, doing interviews, being a guest on podcasts and radio shows. I've been doing quite a bit of, I've written some articles about my experience supporting a loved one with mental health symptoms. I also wrote a chapter about my father, which was about grief, which can cause, depression and things of that nature, can cause mental health symptoms. So speaking, writing, just advocating, traveling to other places and speaking as well. And my radio show, which we talked about, which is based in the UK, called Breaking the Silence, which is a women's radio station, talks about women's mental health and wellness. And then I have a TV show coming out. I have a book coming out called Truth, Traumas, and Triumph. So that's going to talk a lot about my mental health experiences growing up in my household as well as in the workplace. So many different initiatives going on. And the other thing, the last thing, is that I have a course that I'm going to do for people who may not yet feel comfortable going to talk therapy, or may just want something to supplement it. But this is a course that can help people in their healing process. So those
Wow.
are things. Mhm.
All of those things are so important, and awareness, and also getting people to understand that mental health exists. And I see what Renee just wrote the question, but we're going to tackle that question after the break. We're going to take a station break, and we're going to come back and we're going to answer your question, Renee. But wherever you're watching this platform, and if you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is just go to the comments, ask any question that you might have, and I promise you, we are going to get you an answer, because Dr. Woods, as you can see, she is bringing it. And she got it together, and she's doing so many things out there. So we're going to take a station break, but we're going to come back and we're going to pick it up. It's your life, and we'll be back shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley. The J.C. Cooley Foundation is a nonprofit organization that was started in October of 2014.
Hello. Hey, I'm James Cooley. I am the founder and CEO of the J.C. Cooley Foundation, Options, Opportunities, Lasting Choice Program. Our primary mission is to help build a foundation of our youth and young adults and communities. And we encourage everyone to dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. And the way that you do that is, first of all, you got to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You have to know that you are here for a purpose. You also have to be able to step out your comfort zone and do things that you probably didn't think that you can do. Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I tell you, this is such a wonderful topic that we're talking about, and it's all about awareness, bringing awareness, and getting people to step forward, and also, I mean, identify some of the symptoms where most people don't know that they need mental health treatment, and it's up to all of us to work together to identify. Um what it requires and some of the symptoms, and just make sure that we're taking care of each other, all of us, in the communities, family, our lives, the world. So Doc, this is such an important topic, and you can just tell the passion as you talk about this. I can just see the passion coming from you.
Mhm.
Rhonda got Renee got a question. She said, "What are your thoughts about people that don't define their mental health because that is a normal way of life?"
Right. If I want to, I'm not sure I completely understand the question, but I think what Renee is saying is that, hey, my actions or my behaviors, I don't define them as mental health symptoms. That's just how I am, or that's just, my normal routine or my normal way of life. So my thoughts on that, if we are talking about the same thing, one of the things that I've talked about on different podcasts and shows and in interviews is I've talked about how we have, there are different faces of mental health, or there's a rehearsed look of mental health. And what I mean by that is that people expect a person who has mental health symptoms to look or behave a certain way, when in reality, a lot of us have learned to have this rehearsed look of everything is fine. Everything is fine. All is well. One of the things that I had asked Michelle before, I said, in most cases, if you ask someone how they're doing, 99% of the time, they're going to say fine, even when they're not, because they don't want to burden the other person, or they're afraid of the stigma of actually being vulnerable and saying when things aren't right. And I find that true in families. I find that true, especially in the workplace. Especially with minorities, we are afraid of being discriminated against, judged, looked down upon, appearing weak, right? And so I love Renee's question, because I think the face of mental health, I think in many instances, we've just normalized stress. We've normalized overwhelm. We've normalized, feeling sad or thinking, I'll get through it. Or we just constantly just, we push through, we oppress how we're really doing and really feeling. But there are many instances where people who may look like everything is okay and everything is fine, they can hold their head up high, they can have a big smile on their face, they can appear that everything is okay, when in reality, beneath the surface, they may be masking emotional pain. And so my thoughts on that, if I'm answering the question correctly, is I think it's always important to be your true self. Be authentic, be genuine. If you are not okay, and I'm not saying that this is something that you share with just anybody, you have to find a trusted, close, confidential, safe space to be able to express how you're really doing, whether it's talk therapy, whether it's a trusted friend or family member, some confidant, to be able to say how you're really doing. But I think normalizing not being okay, I think would lead to additional issues. It's almost like a trash compactor. We can only suppress our emotions so much. Eventually it becomes full and it needs to be let out. So hopefully I answered Renee's question. If not, please feel free to provide some clarity.
Oh, yes. And there's also do's and don'ts. If someone does come to you, and I mean, we're not experts, there are experts out there, but if someone's coming to you, I mean, yes, you want to be supportive, but are there any don'ts that you can recommend if someone's coming to you, if they're struggling, not the qualified person to diagnose what they're going through, but what are some of the don'ts that family, friends should not do if someone is opening up to them about something?
Right. Okay. So here are 5 don'ts. 5 do not do this. Number 1, do not try and support someone if you're not in a good place. because you might actually cause more harm than good. So I always tell people, make sure you take care of you first, make sure your cup is full before you try and help or support someone else. Otherwise, you have to be open and say, man, I really want to help you, but I'm having a difficult time myself. The second don't is to try and cure or fix or solve the problem. The best thing to do is to actively listen to the person. Just listen, because in most cases, people just need to be heard. So trying to, hear what they say and then trying to fix it so that you can just, I've solved it, they're fine now, I think can exacerbate their symptoms and can cause a bigger problem. The number 3 don't is not respecting their feelings. A lot of times someone might say, oh, I'm feeling this, and we sometimes even unintentionally have the wrong response. We say the wrong things, we might do the wrong things, but if someone says that they're feeling something, even if you can't relate, making sure that we respect their feelings. There were times when someone might say that, something caused, let's say someone said, oh, I felt embarrassed when this happened. And you might be thinking, well, it's not even that big of a deal. But that's not respecting feelings. So making sure we respect feelings on what they experienced in those circumstances. The number 4 don't is to make sure that we don't put conditions on our help, support, or love. So making sure our help, support, and love is without conditions. Nothing is attached to it. So not feeling like I can help you, if you, do this, or if you're this, or, if there's money attached to it, but it needs to be your help, support, empathy needs to be unconditional. And the number 5 don't is to not to put people in an environment where they won't come to you for help or support or confidence. You don't want to betray confidences.
Oh.
You don't want them to feel unsafe opening up to you. So making sure that we provide a safe, confidential, and judgment, that part of that, making sure that we don't judge people about how they're feeling. I think I mentioned earlier that I had a lot of people judging me as a mom because my daughter was experiencing mental health, or judging our faith because of mental health symptoms. So making sure that the answer to that is to make sure we are providing a safe, no judgment, confidential, safe space for people to be able to open up and get the help that they need. When that doesn't happen, they are going to retreat and will not feel comfortable coming to you for help anymore. So,
Dr. Wood, we have Frederick Johnson. He has a question. Dr. Wood, what is your recommended approach for initiating conversations about mental health with family members who are afraid or unsure about seeking help? What is your recommendation regarding that?
Right. It's tricky when it's a family member because one, they have, you want them to be willing. There are some people who are just dead set against it. I think one of the things that we can do is to be very empathetic. Hey, I'm here for you. I support you. I will hold your hand and guide you through this, or maybe helping them seek out some resources like, hey, what about if we, try X, Y, and Z? What do you think about talk therapy? I can go with you. I can give you a ride, or, I found this person, they have good reviews, or, this was a referral or recommendation. And it doesn't always have to be in the form of therapy. Again, creating those safe environments, actively listening to the person, so many things that we can do, but again, avoiding those 5 don'ts that we just talked about. I do think there is a lot of stigma attached to mental health, and there's even more stigma attached to getting help with mental health. So trying to alleviate those barriers can sometimes be tricky.
Wow, we're down to the last minute of the show. If people want to reach out to you and get in touch with you, how can they do that? And
Yes.
also, real quickly, 30 seconds. I wanted to talk about your shows, your television. I'm excited about to hear about
Oh,
those.
thank you so much.
But we only got 1 minute.
I know. I can do it. I can do it, Dr. Cooley. I can do it.
Okay.
The best way to get in touch with me is through my website, RhondaMwood.com, RHONDAMWOOD, or DrRhondaMwood.com. They both go to the same place. There, you can connect with me. You can follow me on social media, and you can see more information about my radio show, Breaking the Silence. You can also find more information about my television show, The Dr. Rhonda Show. You can also send me an email, but everything you need to find out about me is on my website, drrhondamwood.com. You can also follow me on all social media platforms. My handle is Dr. Rhonda M. Wood.
And Dr. Woods, you're welcome back on the show anytime.
Oh,
So I
much.
want to thank you for taking the time to come on the show. I'd like to thank my great executive producer, Dr. Michelle Cooley, for putting together another great show. I'd like to thank KCBQ, Toddy. Toddy, you're the greatest producer on record. Most importantly, I'd like to thank my viewers and listeners that tune into the James Cooley Show. It's your life daily. Remember, always dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. It's your life. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. See you then.
Thanks for joining us for the James Cooley Show. It's your life. To learn more about Dr. James Cooley and how you can support the show or become a guest, visit CooleyFoundation.org. Join James for more motivation and inspiration to help you become equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. This has been It's Your Life with Dr. James Cooley, where you learn how to dream big, think big, and be big in everything you do.
It's Your Life is sponsored by